Our final historic speech is by Brinda Karat, an Indian politician and activist particularly concerned with workers' and women's rights. Born in 1947, Karat began her political work as a student activist at Calcutta University and later during the Bangladesh War at refugee camps. In 1975, she shifted to Delhi and worked as a trade union organizer with textile mill workers. She gained prominence in a campaign for reform of rape laws in the 1980s, and in 2005, she became the first woman member of the highest decision-making body of the Communist Party of India, a position she agreed to only after 5 other women were invited to join its central committee. Her 2014 speech, India's Sterilization Horror, epitomizes her commitment to women and workers. Here to speak as Brinda Karat is Keshia Pendigrast, a new board member of Women's Voices Worldwide. Born and raised in Colombo, Sri Lanka, Ms. Pendigrast earned her bachelor's degree from Mount Holyoke College in 2013, where she explored economic systems, social oppression, and energy and food systems. She currently works for the admissions office of Union Theological Seminary in New York City while she studies for her master's degree and also serves on the social justice team for New Day Bronx. She is focusing her career on achieving post-conflict reconciliation, dialogue, and reflective practices. Ladies and gentlemen, Keshia Pendigrast as Brinda Karat.
The Chhattisgarh government is guilty of culpable homicide for the deaths of over a dozen women in government-run sterilization camps over the last few days. The government, and in particular the health minister, think they can escape from their own responsibility by arresting the doctor who performed the operations by setting up a judicial inquiry. Really? You need a judicial inquiry to tell you that the targets you fix for female sterilization camps can only be met if doctors do production line surgeries, as was done in Bilaspur? Sure, the doctor needs to be arrested and prosecuted. But who set the targets he was following? Who incentivized utterly unethical medical practices? Who rewarded the same doctor with a state award on Republic Day this year for his success in completing 50,000 surgeries? A reward for using the very same methods of one surgery every 2 minutes, which led to the deaths of women. The government set a target of 175,000 sterilization camps for the year 2014-2015. The same as last year, and 30,000 more than the targets of the previous 2 years. It has also employed 126 doctors specifically for female sterilization operations. This year so far, 54,000 female sterilization surgeries have been performed. These surgeries were not out of informed choices. The system is not demand-driven. It works by orders from the top down, workers who are given targets to fulfill the threat of losing their jobs. These equally poor health workers become instruments of the system that exploit impoverished groups to provide cash incentives to meet targets. Clearly, treating poor women as cattle or worse is acceptable as long as they suffer in silence. As long as their bleeding and pain does not make headlines, and as long as they don't die. Yet some do. From 2002 to 2012, on average, 12 women died every month due to botched sterilizations. These are only the reported cases, but this has not taught the government anything. The camps continue. And what about those who suffer outside these butchery camps? The women in Malda, West Bengal, 300 in a hospital that should only cater to 30, bleeding out in open fields. The women in the Bihar primary school building where a so-called camp was held, operations by torchlight. The mentally challenged women in the Madhya Pradesh who had no idea what was being done to their bodies. Look at the utter hypocrisy of our system. In 1994, India became a signatory to the Cairo Declaration, one among 175 countries. The declaration was significant because of its basis that development is the best contraceptive. In an Indian context, it meant recognition that socioeconomic indicators like literacy, public health, high infant mortality rates that determine family size must be tackled instead of the imposition of coercive population control policies. The actual practice on the ground was in total violation of these policy documents. It was driven by the ideological framework that population has to be controlled before development. With rare exceptions, governments work to control populations. Many adopted a coercive model of the two-child norm. Laws were enacted to punish the poor by depriving them of ration cards or in denying them the democratic right to stand for elections if they had more than 2 children. And the easiest and best way was to sterilize the women. The central government needs to reiterate India's commitment to the Cairo Declaration. It needs to initiate a review and central state policies regarding family planning and an end to target and quota-based policies. Put an end to target-driven sterilization camps. Send the message that target-based policies are over, and the health minister in the Chhattisgarh should be held accountable. He should be forced to quit office right now.